Good morning, y'all. It's about 7:30 in the morning. Got my little cup of, got the hiccups as well. Got a little cup of Joe with me, and we're just sitting outside enjoying this beautiful morning. And today, I'm sorry, this is gonna be an issue, but they won't go away. But I gotta make this video. I'm sorry. But we're gonna be talking about basically overcoming your past self and why that's so important if you want to grow. You simply can't grow or can't change the things that you were doing if you don't accept that you're a new version of yourself. You've committed to not doing certain things that you used to do. They used to give you a little bit of benefit or, short-term gratification that you knew was bad for you. And instead, you're starting to change these habits that you used to do in your life because you want to work towards becoming the best version of yourself. Now, in order to do that, you have to let go of who you used to be. And when it comes to, for someone like me, that's a big issue I had, is letting go of that past version of myself. And that's the biggest thing I've realized. What was keeping me back from actually stopping is just because I kept associating myself with who I used to be instead of focusing on who I want to be, instead of focusing on who I am right now. And so once I started telling myself that that's just not me anymore, those things that I used to do that obviously I don't want to be doing anymore because I know I don't need to do them, I kept saying that I was still a part of that person. Because whenever you do those things, you act like it's just kind of inevitable. Because if that's the kind of person you are, sure, it's going to happen. So I kind of just let them happen every once in a while, and I'll just blow it off because I'd be like, it's just part of it. Once I realized that I needed to change, I just had to focus on the new me. I had to let go of that old self. And so I'm sure a lot of y'all probably are dealing with the same thing. This is bad. All right. It's hard to really stop doing the things you used to do, maybe because you're just so used to doing them, or you're even addicted to them, or these habits, they just give you such a good feeling. But deep down, you want to change, right? I mean, I think we all know, what's right and what's wrong, what we need to be doing, what we shouldn't be doing. And once you kind of open up to that, it gets to a point where you don't really have to go out seeking for this knowledge. You're able to kind of look inwards for most of the answers that you're looking for. And then it's kind of just like you versus you. You're kind of just looking in yourself at that point, and then you're able to analyze yourself a lot easier, which means you're able to grow a lot easier too, because when you're always self-analyzing, you're constantly thinking to yourself, what can I do better? How can I change, right? And it can be kind of hard to do sometimes, but you just got to be aware enough. It's so easy to let things kind of take away your attention and make it easier for you to put your focus on something else. You always got to be aware of yourself, because the reality is other people are always watching too. There's always other people that are aware of how you are or what you look like. Not that really matters, but I'm saying, like, you're your biggest ally and your biggest enemy. So you just got to be aware of that. So how could you focus on your new self rather than your old self? What are some ways that you can stop worrying about who you used to be, those things you used to do, and instead start putting your attention on who you are now or who you want to be? What I think a lot of us do to ourselves is put labels on certain things about us. And if you think about it, those labels that you put on yourself, they define who you are. They really do limit you from any other perspective. They limit you from any other objective around that parameter that you labeled yourself. So if we label ourselves, shouldn't we want to do it with something that's positive, something that's going to get us to who we want to be? You might not think it's possible, but when you label yourself, you're now pretty much putting into your mind that it is possible. And if you can see it, then that means it's possible. So I think the best way to overcome your past self and to start putting your attention on who you are now or who you want to be is to just stop telling yourself that you just don't do these certain things. Stop telling yourself that you're a certain person. Start telling yourself that you are the person who you want to be. Start telling yourself that you don't do those things. Just start telling yourself that you're a new person. Because every time that you go back to that, not only will it start to go back in your head that that's who you are, but over time, the more you remember that, the more you acknowledge it and then take action on it, meaning you can't obviously label yourself and just not do anything. you got to label yourself towards who you want to be. Yet, if I label myself like this, then I'm gonna have to take certain actions to get there. So like, what would someone look like that is who I want to be? What would someone look like that got there? And so you got to kind of mimic those steps on what you think that would be like. And once you start doing that, over time it just builds up. You'll slowly start to become more like that person. I guess what it was for me, I'm very much in my head like all the time. Not really sure if that's a good or a bad thing. I think it's good because I'm able to just kind of self-assess pretty easily. And I don't know, I guess I was kind of in my head a little too much a year ago maybe. So I just started thinking about these things and started thinking about the person that I wanted to be. Now that I was actually, becoming an adult and learning that, I actually got my own decisions to make, and I'm gonna have to learn to be independent. The biggest thing I've learned is that you just can't let your past self define you anymore. Because the more you do that, the more you think about that, the more, it still goes in your mind that it's possible. It's still possible to be that way, or it's possible to go back to the ways that you used to be. But when you start giving yourself these positive affirmations, and you start focusing on the positive, you start focusing on who you want to be. And so, vice versa. It's really that simple if you think about it. And I just encourage you all to start, putting positive labels in different parts of your life. Wherever it is that you want to grow, just kind of like highlight it in your mind and focus on that rather than the negatives.